Hello friends, myself Dikshit Purohit and I will be taking your lectures for zoology. Before starting the lectures, I would like to tell you that how you need to attend these lectures. So whatever I am telling you right now, what I am teaching you, you make sure you have to make notes for the same. You should be having a notebook along with you and you should jot down everything what I am basically teaching you right now. At any point of time you feel any type of doubt, you may note it down right now, and then later on you can also convey the same to the people, and I will be making sure that your doubt may get cleared. Okay, so now let us start the chapter, that is structural organization in animals. This is chapter number 7 in your NCERT textbook, and it holds a very important weightage in NEET as well. Okay, so we need to make sure that it has to be done in a proper manner. Okay, so let us start. Let us understand why the structural organization is important. As we know that we have studied in classification as well in first 2-3 chapters, right? What we have seen that when we are classifying, the structural organization of an organism plays a very important role in the classification. It is a very important aspect for classifying the organisms. We have seen that organisms can be classified in a different level of organization. It can be classified in different level of organization, right? Let us see how. We have seen like cellular level organization. Okay, then we have seen tissue level of organization. Okay, now what are the cell? All the prokaryotes will be coming under cell level organization, and even the protista will be coming under the cell level organization. Now this organisms will be having a different level of structure, that it will be the multicellular structure, right, which will be consisting of tissue level of organization. Now we know that all these fungi, plants, animals will be coming under the multicellular structures. Now when we say multicellular structures, so multicellular structure will be again consisting a different level of organization. It will be consisting tissue, then organ and organ system. So when we say tissue, the tissue level of organization is observed. It is observed in fungi. Not all the fungi, but many of the fungi, right? It is also, you may not be getting all the things what I'm writing over here right now, but still you make sure that you are listening me properly. It's important. Okay, then the tissue level system is also observed in fungi, even some plants. Okay, and even in lower level of animals like hydra. Okay, when we say about organ, so organ level of organization will be present in plants. We can say they have got different organs for different purposes, and some specific structures will be dedicated for performing a particular function like absorption, like photosynthesis and all that, right? And similarly, after this organ level of organization, the last level and the most complex level of organization, which is basically observed in the higher level of animals, is the organ system level of organization. We can say organ system level of organization. So when I say organ system level of organization, it consists of different organs, organ 1, organ 2, organ 3. These different organs will be coordinating with each other, in such a manner that the animal will be able to perform all the function synchronizedly. If any of these organs stop functioning or start dysfunctioning, then it may lead to the different type of problems within that particular animal, or we can say that animal will not be able to survive. Either he will not able to survive, or he will be surviving but with improper functions. Okay, so the organ system of level of organization is basically observed in animals, and today what we are going to discuss, the structural organization in animals, and particularly we are speaking about the higher animals. So we will be discussing about the different system of organs, okay, and how these are organized. So let us say we have already seen how different level of organization is basically observed in different organisms. Okay, but we will be starting with the tissue. So we know that all the organs in our body, or all the cell, we all are basically made up of single cell. We started forming a body with the help of a single cell, that was zygote. So later on this zygote went on division, and this division led to formation of different type of cells, and these cells came together to perform a different type of structures in our body. So how this different diversity of the structures has different form of organs are basically formed, So we have to understand the concept of tissue. So what is tissue? The term was given by Bichette. He is considered the father of animal histology. Now when I say histology, what does it mean? Histology means study of tissue. Make sure. Histology, logy means the study, and histo is basically meaning the tissue. So he was the person who basically first of all studied widely on the tissues. So he's called as father of the histology. Now what is tissue? Tissue is a group of cells. It's a group of cell. Mind it, it's a group of cells which have got a same origin. It means that all the tissues will be comprising or will be coming from a same type of cell. This cell will be responsible for giving the responsible for origination of the different cells, and this all cells are basically coming from a same cell. So these are having the same origin. When I say origin, it means the germ layer. It means that they are from the same germ layer. Germ layer means the type of particular layer which is observed during the formation of the fetus, embryo. So you will be studying this about during the developmental biology, but right now you have to understand what is tissue. Tissue is a group of cells having the same origin and responsible for a common function, a particular function. So all these cells will be coming together to perform a particular function, and which will be of the same origin is called as tissue. So you can write it down. What is tissue? Tissue is a group of cells having same origin and responsible to carry out a same function, or we can say responsible to carry out a specific function. That's about the tissue. Okay. Now let us see what all different we are going to discuss the tissues which are observed, which are present in the animals, particularly in the complex animals, higher level of animals. So these are the four fundamental tissues which are observed in the organisms. These are the four fundamental tissues which are observed in the organisms. What all these are? These are, just a minute, these are animal tissue consisting of epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. These four are the fundamental tissues present in organism. Mind it, these are the fundamental tissues. It means that all the higher organisms will be consisting this tissue, and all the functions which are basically observed, which are found in a higher animal, will be attributed to these tissues. Now these tissues will be further divided into different subgroups, subtypes, like the epithelial will be divided into squamous, cuboidal, columnar, ciliated, and glandular. Similarly, the connective tissue will be divided into areolar, adipose, skeletal, fluid. Okay, while muscular is also again divided into different type of muscles, striated muscles, unstriated muscles, smooth muscles, right, and the cardiac muscles and all that. So right now we'll be basically studying with the tissues. The first tissue type or the fundamental tissue type which we are going to study will be the epithelial tissue, right? Good. So this is just to give you a brief account of how the different diversity of tissues is found in a same organism, in a same animal. Like this is a human body, and this human body is basically consisting of lot of cells, and this lot of cells are bound together to form different type of tissues. And these tissues are basically the one which are responsible for forming the organs, and this is how these are basically helping or are responsible for the proper functioning of a human body. Like a same human body will be consisting a diverse form of tissue at different position, So what is that, the tissue, where the tissue is located? What is the shape, structure of tissue, the shape and the structure of the tissue and its position? The shape, structure and the position of the tissue will be responsible for determining the function what it carries out. You can write it down. The shape, structure and the position of a tissue will be determining the function it carries out, and vice versa we can also say, right? So what is it? The shape, structure and the function, the shape, structure and the position of a tissue will be determining what type of function that tissue will be carrying out. Okay, and these tissues will be basically present in different parts of the body. It may be present at the same, different tissue may be present in the same organ as well sometime. Okay, not sometime, most of the time. Okay, and they'll be responsible for carrying out some specific function. Okay, so these all tissues will be coming together to perform a synchronized function in a manner so that the organism can survive properly. Okay, so these are like the blood is the tissue, the epithelial tissue, the muscle tissues, connective tissues. So these different tissues are found in a single body. Okay, so let us start with the first one, that is epithelial tissue. Now, epithelial tissue, the name itself suggests, just a minute. The name itself suggests it's an epithelial. Epi means above, surface, external, and epi means surface particularly. So it is the tissue which is responsible for covering the surfaces. It is responsible for covering the surfaces. Okay, and it is also responsible for providing the lining of internal body parts. When I say lining the internal body part, what does it mean? It means that, let us say this is my stomach. Let us say this is my stomach. Okay, now this stomach is having this cavity, and this cavity will be basically having an exposed surface. This exposed surface will be having a specific type of cells layer present on them. So here this is a lining of my internal body. This is the internal organ, and this internal organ will be having the cavity, and this cavity will be exposed by different type of cells, and this uppermost layer of the cells which is present on this stomach wall will be nothing but my epithelium. At the same time, when a person is basically having its body, so this person will be having a body, so the skin will be responsible for protection. This is just a random figure I am drawing. Okay, so it is responsible for covering the surfaces of an organism. It is responsible for covering the surface of an organism, and it is also responsible for covering the internal body lining. Okay, now what are the characteristics of epithelial tissue? How can we differentiate the epithelial tissue from the remaining others one? See, there are different type of tissues. So there has to be some sort of mechanism by which we can differentiate them, that this is the one and this is not that one. Okay, so there should be mechanism. So what is this mechanism? Let us see. First characteristic, that is, it is compactly arranged. When I say compactly arranged, means they will be having very low intercellular spaces. You will be knowing the intercellular space, right? It is space present between the cells. Okay, so these are the compactly arranged. It means they will not be having much space present between them, although they will be having some space, but that would be very minimal, and that will be around 20 to 30 nanometer, and this is not a big scale. You understand? 20 to 30 nanometer of the space will be present between two cells. It won't be even visible. So they are highly compactly arranged, and the intercellular space is low. Write it down. And because the intercellular space is low or narrow, we can also say that the intercellular matrix is also very low amount. So we can say it is compactly arranged, the intercellular space is very narrow, and we can also say the intercellular matrix is very low amount, is present in very low amount. What is intercellular matrix? It's a fluid which is present between two cells. Okay, next, the adjacent cells are held together by intercellular junctions. We'll be studying in detail what are this junction are, and whatever the things are required we will be discussing in the next slides only. But still, they will be held together. I told you they are compactly arranged. It means that they should be held together. They should be held together by a particular type of mechanism. Okay, so these are basically taken care by the junctions. So we will discuss how these junctions are. What all these junctions are, right? Next, the blood vessels are absent. This is again important part. It might form a question. About the tissues, particularly epithelial tissue. So it means wherever this epithelial tissues are present, the blood vessels are not able to penetrate. Why? Because these blood vessels are not able to penetrate because they do not have intercellular spaces. And when they do not have the high intercellular spaces, the blood vessels will not be able to get inside them, or will not be able to cross the intercellular spaces, right? So we can say blood vessels are absent. Mind it. Okay, next is materials are exchanged by diffusion. So if the blood vessels are not present, you would be having a question. If blood vessels are not present, then how will they get the nutrition? How will they discard their waste material. So there has to be some mechanism. So they will be taking up the nutrients, they will be discarding the waste by the process of diffusion, and we know already what the diffusion is, the movement from higher to lower concentration, right? So they do not have blood vessels, but they'll be responsible, they will be carrying out this exchange of material. It may be uptake, it may be the releasing out the substances by simple diffusion. Okay, and the last one is that nerve endings may penetrate. This is again important. Although the blood vessels are not able to penetrate within this epithelial tissues, but the nerve endings which are responsible for transmission of the signals, which are responsible for transmission of impulses, are able to penetrate within this epithelial tissue. I hope it is clear. So what are epithelial tissues? These are tissues which are responsible, which covers the surfaces and the lining of the internal body, and responsible for forming the lining of internal body. How we can differentiate it from the other tissues? We can differentiate on the basis of the characteristic. What are the characteristic? First, the compactly arranged, intercellular space is very low and will be consisting very minimal amount of intercellular fluid, a matrix. Third, they have got intercellular junctions and blood vessels absent. This is important. And the nerve endings may penetrate. Okay, and the last one is the materials are basically exchanged with the help of simple diffusion. That's all about the epithelial tissues characteristic. Okay, as I just in the previous slide we have discussed about the junctions, cellular junctions, right? So first of all, let us understand what the junction means. Junction means it's basically a part where the two different things are meeting together. It's a part where the two different things are basically the boundaries of two different regions are basically meeting together. Okay, so similarly, when the two cells, this is the one cell and this is two cells. These two cells are arranged adjacent to each other. They will be having some sort of boundaries. These boundaries will be coming in contact with each other, which will be forming the junction. Okay, now these junctions will be of different types. The mainly which one is found in the epithelial tissues will be the tight junctions. Okay, and the main junctions which are found in the epithelial tissues will be the tight junctions. Okay, so the type of junctions, first of all, this is tight junction, adhering junctions, and the gap junctions. So let me okay, what are these junctions? Okay, so let us see what all these junctions and how they work. Tight junctions, these are the junctions where the plasma membrane in the apical region of adjacent epithelium becomes tightly packed together. So this is how the plasma membrane of these two cells will not be able to differentiate exactly which of the apical part. So these two junctions are basically totally tightly together. So we will not be able to understand that which of the cell, which of this boundary of the cell 1 is where it is getting finished, or where the boundary of cell 2 is basically starting. So here the plasma membrane of 1 and 2, the apical part of 1 and 2 is basically held together very tightly, so that nothing can get inside from here. You do not have any intercellular spaces between them. You cannot observe the intercellular spaces, right? So it will be forming a barrier. So the things will not be able to penetrate within this tissue. Okay, so this is a tight junction. Make sure, just mind it, note it down, that the apical plasma membrane will be forming this junction. Between adjacent cells. So it is responsible for preventing the flow of the things from across this membrane. They will be not allowing the flow of this. If suppose they will be having intercellular spaces between them, so what will happen? The things may get flow in between them, right? But right now, over here we have seen that there are not any type of spaces between them, and hence the things will not be able to flow across. So they check the flow of materials between the cells, and also called as occluding junction. This is again important. The tight junctions are also called as occluding junctions. Okay, next one is adhering. The name itself suggests that adheres means to anchor anything. So adhering junctions are not the junctions which are found in between the cells. They are not found in between the cells. So what are they? Are responsible for cementing processes. Suppose this is my cell, and this cell is basically attached to a substratum is basically the basement membrane. So it has to be anchored with this base. This thing is carried out with the adhering junction. This is with the help of adhering junction. More about this junction we'll be studying in the cell, in the chapter cell. Okay. And these are of again two types, that is desmosomes and hemidesmosomes. You don't need to differentiate about the desmosomes, hemidesmosomes, but still you should be knowing that the type of adhering junctions are two, that is desmosomes and hemidesmosomes. This is something which you should be knowing. Okay. And next one is the gap junction. Again, the name itself suggests gap. It means that the two cells over here are connected with a specific type of bridge, and this bridge is busy. So these two cells are connected. With the type of bridge. Okay, and this bridge is called as my connection. This bridge is basically made by a specific protein which is called as connexin. It's important. Sometime it may be asked. It was asked in one of the exams previously. So it is basically formed by a protein called as connexin. What are these connexin? These connexin are the type of protein which are responsible for formation of the bridge between these two cells, responsible for chemical exchange. See, I'm just drawing this. It's not that big. Okay, it would not be that big. So suppose this is my cell and this is my another cell. There will be some sort of okay, it's not working. There will be some sort of gap present between them. Which will be called as, this is my gap. So this is called as my gap junction. Okay, so I am not able to draw up exact figure. We'll be seeing it in some other figure as well. So what is gap junction? It is a type of the connection between the two adjacent cells from which they'll be able to exchange the chemicals like proteins, like different nutrient substances. They will be able to exchange across the membrane, and hence they are also called as communicating junctions. That's important. Okay. The two things are important: the connexin and this communicating junctions. Tight junctions, occluding junctions, and the apical region are basically hold together. And adhering junctions are anchoring and are basically of two types, desmosome and hemidesmosome. That was about the junctions. Okay, I hope it's done. So next is the types of epithelial tissue. So let us start with the epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue are further divided into three main types, that is simple, compound and glandular. Okay, and the simple will be of different types: squamous, cuboidal, columnar, ciliated, and pseudostratified, while the compound will be stratified and transitional. Glandular epithelium is again divided, but we will be discussing again later on. Okay, so types of epithelial tissue. First one is a simple epithelia. The name itself suggests that it would not be consisting of very complicated structures. It will be made up of simple epithelia. A simple epithelia, it means it will be made up of single layer. Of compact layer cells which rest over the basement. So it will be having a base, and on this base of cells, single layer of cells will be present. Now, depending on the type of cell, depending on the shape of cells, the different type of simple epithelia will be seen. Depending on the type of shape of cells, the different type of simple epithelia will be seen. Okay, so what is simple epithelia? It's a single layer of compact layer cells resting over the basement membrane. Now, these are responsible for mainly the absorption of the substances, maybe nutrients, maybe different type of other chemicals. Secretion. Okay, secretion, we'll be discussing about the hormonal secretions, enzymatic secretions, and diffusion and movement of materials. So different movement of material will be also carried out with the help of the simple epithelia. We'll see further function as well. It is further divided into the following types. Okay, so what all we have already seen. First of all, this simple squamous epithelium. Now you can see over here in the figure, it's a single layer. It's single layer. When we say it's having a single layer, it means that it is simple in nature, right? Okay, it's simple, right? Second, squamous. Squamous means that they are basically scaly, right? It means scaly. So here we can see they are basically just flattened structures. These are the flattened structure. They are not arising or basically oblique structure, right? They are flattened structure, arranged in a manner that we can see the tiles arranged in our rooms, in a classrooms, or in a home, in a rooms, right? So how it is arranged? It is arranged in a compactly managed manner, in manner in which you cannot be able to see the space between the tiles, right? So hence it is also called as pavement. It is also called as pavement epithelium. Here it is written. It is also known as pavement epithelium. Why? Because the arrangement is in such a manner that it would be looking like the arrangement of tiles without any space between them. Okay. So they are closely fitted, flattened polygonal cells. Polygonal, it will be having different angles, right? It will be having different corners. Polygonal cells have many tight junctions, as I have already told you. Now, it occurs in where they are found. They are found in alveoli. Now here in alveoli, they will be responsible functioning of exchange of gases. They will be responsible functioning of exchange of gases. As we know that the alveoli is made up of single layer of cells, right? That single layer is nothing but this squamous epithelium, and it is very thin layer, right? Because it is flattened cells. Next, it is also found in Bowman's capsule. Now the Bowman's capsule is found. It is basically observed in the nephron. It is observed in the nephron in the kidney, where it functions as the filtrating unit. So it is responsible for filtration again over there. And it is also found in the Henle's loop of uriniferous tubules. Henle's loop is responsible for reabsorption. So it's a part of excretory system where the urine is formed by filtration and absorption and reabsorption of water and other salts. So it is playing a very important role over there for absorption, we can say, right? So we will be discussing in the excretion part. We have got different chapter for that. What are the functions? As we already know, protection. It is responsible for protection. So it is a protection by the external foreign particles and all that. It is responsible for excretion. And excretion, as I already told you, it is found in the Henle's loop and Bowman's capsule, and it takes a very important role in the excretion and gases exchange. And gases exchange as in the alveoli and responsible for respiration. Next, depending on the shape, again, that was the simple squamous because it was a flattened structure. The second one is the simple cuboidal. We already know what cuboids are, right? So here you can see in figure the cube-like structure which has got 6 faces, but mind one thing, although they will be having 6 faces, but the one which is exposed will be only one. So actually they will be having 2 surfaces. The one surfaces will be attached. All the epithelium will be having 2 surfaces. All the simple epithelium particularly will be having 2 surfaces. The one surfaces will be exposed either to the, note it down, it's important. The one surface will be exposed either to the air, or it would be exposed to the inner cavity of the body, as we already seen in the stomach lining, right? And the other surface, the one surface will be exposed to the air or the inner lining of the inner cavity of any body, right? And the second surface will be attached to the basement. And the lateral surfaces will be adjacent. Lateral surface will be facing the adjacent cells. Okay, hence they will not be visible. We will not be able to visualize. We will not be able to see the lateral surfaces. Okay, we will be able to see actually the upper surface only. So again, the simple cuboidal, the shape will be cuboid structure, cube-like cells. Nucleus is round and placed centrally. Nucleus is round, and over here also the nucleus was almost round, and it was also placed not centrally, but it was placed because they were polygonal, so we cannot say where the center exactly is, right? So here the nucleus is basically round and is placed centrally. The free surfaces may be smooth or bearing microvilli. The surfaces which are present exposed to the air or the cavity will be having 2 types. Will maybe smooth or maybe having the microvilli. Now the microvilli you would have already studied in class 10th, that it's what is microvilli, just let me tell you. So what is that? There is a cell. This is a simple cell which is not having any type of extensions, but another cell is there which will be having such type of filamentous structures present on the surface. Now this filamentous appendages which are responsible for increasing the surface area. Over here the surface area has got increased by manifold. Okay, and these structures are called as microvilli. So it can be without microvilli, or it can be smooth, or it can be with bearing the microvilli. Where it is found in the ducts of the glands. Ducts, it's a tubular structure, and gland will be studying what glands are, the structures which are responsible for the secretions. And tubular part of nephrons, it is also found in the tubular part of nephrons. Ovaries, seminiferous tubules of ovaries, and seminiferous tubule of testes. So ovaries and seminiferous tubules are the part of the male and female reproductive structures, right? So there also we can find this cuboidal simple epithelium, right? What are its function? First of all, again, protection. It is responsible for protecting the structures. And second one, because it's covering the any organ or any particular lining, providing the lining to the particular internal body parts, it will be responsible for protection. It will be always responsible for protection. Second, secretion. As we have seen that it is found in the glands and all that, so it will be responsible for secreting some specific structure, some specific components like hormones, enzymes, something like that, right? Absorption, the microvilli part, where we have already seen the cuboidal epithelium, which will be consisting of this microvilli, will be responsible for absorption of nutrients and other substances as well. So they will be responsible for absorption. Excretion, as we have seen that they are part of nephrons also, so will be responsible for excretion. And last but not least, and it's important, also responsible for gamete formation. The gametes are the cells which are responsible for the reproduction. So when they are present in the ovaries and seminiferous tubules, they will be functioning as a geminal epithelium over there and will be responsible for formation of the gametes. Okay, so they take part take part in meiosis, okay, and will be responsible for formation of gametes. So that was about the simple cuboidal epithelium. Next one is simple columnar epithelium. Now what is simple columnar? Again, according to shape, we can say over here the shape will be a rod-like shape, or we can say brick-like shape, rectangular shape. The cells will be taller, and the nucleus will be round or elongated, which will be mainly found at the base of cell. It will found at the base of cell. It will be consisting again a single layer, two surfaces. The one surface will be exposed, and the other surface will be attached to the basement. Some of these columnar cells will be responsible for production of mucus, and these cells are called as goblet cells. Not all the columnar epithelium will be called as goblet cells. Make a note, the goblet cells are those cells which will be responsible for production of mucus, Now where are they found? They are found in the lining of stomach, as you have already studied in class 10th. Most probably that the stomach will be responsible for secretion of mucus. So this is secreted by the goblet cells of mucus of the stomach. It is also found in the small and large intestine, particularly for the secretions. It is also found in digestive glands of stomach, intestine, pancreas, gallbladder, etc. Next is functions. Secretion of the hormones and enzymes, mainly the enzymes. Absorption of the substances from the intestine particularly, and protection to the components of most glandular epithelia. So we will see what glandular epithelia are, right? So that was about the simple columnar epithelium. So what you have studied? We have studied about the simple squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. Next one is simple ciliated epithelium. One thing you have to keep in your mind that that was a microvilli. So there is a difference between microvilli and cilia. There is a big difference in the microvilli and cilia. So microvilli is a particularly modification of the plasma membrane for the function of absorption, while the cilia is a different form of structure. It's a different form of structure. It's again a different form of cellular structure. We'll study the ciliary structure in the cell. You'll be studying the ciliary structure in the cell, but it is a different form of structure and having a different function altogether. So you don't have to get confused with between this microvilli and the cilia. So what are ciliated epithelium? The columnar or the cuboidal. It may be columnar also and cuboidal cells bearing cilia. Cilia is nothing but the thread-like structures found on the surface of some cells. So on their free surfaces, what do? They move the particles or mucus in a specific direction. So when we see, you would be noticing that we may get sneezing sometime, we may get basically itching at our throat and all that. So what happens whenever the particles come inside in a system, it would be thrown out in different manner. And how it is basically thrown out, or it would be basically flushed out inside the stomach as well sometimes. So how it is done? With the help of cilia. And okay, it will be also responsible for movement of this mucus, है ना? It will be just it will flatter, the cilia will flatter in a manner so that the whatever the substances come in its path gets moved to in a particular direction. Okay, next, different types again: simple ciliated columnar epithelium and simple ciliated cuboidal epithelium, as according to the shape. So the first one, the columnar epithelium, ciliated columnar epithelium, are mainly found in the respiratory tract. Fallopian tube. In the fallopian tube, it is responsible for the movement of the egg. The ovum, which is basically released from the ovary, has to be carried to the uterus. So through the fallopian tube. So this movement of the ovum will be basically assisted by this movement of cilia, okay, which are again a part of ciliated columnar epithelium. It's also found in the parts of uterus and cervix. In the case of uterus, it is responsible for the movement of the embryo. The zygote will be basically implanted in the uterus. So this zygote has to be moved in a particular in a particular place, and that movement is taken care by again the ciliated epithelium. The different tubule of testis, again the seminiferous tubules of the testis will be having this simple ciliated epithelium for the responsible for the movement of the sperm particularly. And the simple ciliated cuboidal epithelium, mainly found in the ependyma of the nervous system. Ependyma is a type of cell which is found in the nervous system, responsible for assisting the nerve cell. It is responsible for assisting the neuron. Okay, so it does not carry out the transmission, but it is responsible. It's a supportive cell. We can say it's a supportive cell, or we can say it is the epithelial cell of nervous system, mainly found in the ventricles of brain and also in the spinal cord. Okay, so these are the part of nervous system we will be studying in the nervous system chapter. Next, part of uriniferous tubules, again responsible for the movement of the different substances present in the urine and all that, right? So that's about the simple ciliated epithelium. So these are the structures. Simple cuboidal, you can magnify it. Simple cuboidal, you can see the cubical structures. Simple squamous, the flattened one. Polygonal, with the nucleus within them. These are the columnar, which are brick-like or elongated structures having the nucleus at the base. And this is the one which we will be discussing now. Stratified squamous. Okay, so here these are stratified, means these are now complex. These are now complex compound, or we can say complex epithelial tissues. These three tissues are simple tissues, right? So this is 1, 2 and 3. These are the simple epithelium, while this one is my complex. Why compound or complex? Because it consists many layers. Right? And hence it is called as stratified. Strata means one layer, and when it is having many layers, it's called as stratified tissue. Okay, so that was about the epithelial tissue. Simple epithelial tissue. Next will be, just a minute. Next will be, okay, pseudo stratified. Okay, this is also simple. You have to keep it in mind. Although the name suggests it's stratified, but it is not stratified. It will be pseudo stratified. What does pseudo mean? Pseudo means something which is false. So it seems like stratified. But it is not stratified. It seems like it is having a different layers, but it is not having different layers. It will be having single layer. So how it happens? Let us see. So this is my suppose cell. Okay. So how it happens? Let us see. So this is a layer of cell. This cell. Out of these cells, few cells are basically very elongated. Few cells are very elongated like this.
Other cells are small. Other cells are small. So it seems to me that it is having two layers, one layer, two layer, but it is not actually having two layers. It will be having only single layer, right? So we can say it will be having only the single layer, right? So it's pseudo stratified. Pseudo means false stratified. So it's a simple type of epithelium. You have to keep in your mind. Epithelium is a one cell thick but appears two layered. But appears two layered because all the cells do not reach to the free surfaces. So the small cells will be basically present at the base, but the few cells which are bigger will be reaching to the upper surfaces, and which will be giving a look of two layered or multi-layered cells. Okay, these epitheliums of two types: pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium and pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. The one which is having cilia will be ciliated columnar epithelium. First one, the pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium without cilia lines the large ducts of glands like parotids, salivary glands, and all that, and urethra of human male. Pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar epithelium are mainly found. Again, they will be having two cells. The one which is elongated will be having the cilia, and the one which is not elongated will not be having the cilia. So keep in mind that the one which is having cilia are the one which are elongated, and the short cells will not be having cilia. Although it's a ciliated columnar epithelium, but still lines the trachea and large bronchi, and the functions are movement of the substance. That's all. Now next is a simple epithelium is done. Next is a compound epithelia. Compound epithelia, when I say, so it will be consisting of the multiple layers. Here you can see this. This is a layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. So different layers of this epithelium cells are observed. Okay, and hence it is called as stratified also. So this compound epithelium is also called as stratified epithelium. So made up of more than one layer of cells, covers the surfaces where constant replacement of cells is required. So when I told about simple epithelia, the simple epithelia are mainly found in those parts where the constant wearing and tearing of cells is not taking place, but they will be responsible for protection. Over here, these are the cells. They will be found mainly at that place which is constantly getting degraded, so that constantly replacement of the cells will be taking place, like the skin cells. Okay, so every day we will be basically losing out millions of skin cells from your body, but they will be basically compensated by new cells. Okay, why? Because it is having different layers. So one layer is washed away, the second layer will be again generated. Okay, so this is how this compound epithelium will functioning. The stratified compound epithelia on the basis of shape, which is present on the uppermost surface, yani ki the shape, depending on the shape present, the shape of the cell which is present on the uppermost surface or superficial layer will be, we can divide it on different types on the basis of the type of cells present on the uppermost layer. Okay, so what all these are? Stratified squamous epithelia. Again, the uppermost layer will be consisting the squamous cells. Simple. It is called as germinal layer. It is called as we have already seen, the squamous cells are also responsible for formation of the gametes. So here these cells will be mainly found in the gametes as well. This stratified squamous epithelium will be of two types. It can be keratinized and can be non-keratinized. Keratinized are the cells which are, you can note it down, the keratinized keratin, the cells where the cytoplasm will be starting synthesizing a specific type of protein, which is water impermeable protein, which is waterproof protein, which is called as keratin. So what will happen? The cytoplasm will start depositing this keratin within the cell, and after a particular period of time, due to deposition of keratins, what will happen? The cytoplasm will dry off, and hence the cell will die, and this keratin will be deposited within it, which will be impermeable to water. And due to this deposition of keratin, the layer of that particular body will be basically getting impermeable to water, and hence responsible for formation of impermeable water, responsible for preventing the dehydration. And this will be forming a rough and hard structure by which we can see the formation of nails, the formation of hair, the formation of horn and hoof, claws, all that. So all these structures are basically made up of keratinized, and they are dead cells. These are dead cells. Okay, mainly found in surfaces. The other one is non-keratinized, which does not synthesize the keratin, and mainly found in the structures like the conjunctiva in my eye, and also found in the reproductive structures of in the ovary in the females, and in the males again in the case of testes it is also found responsible for formation of gametes as well. Second is the stratified cuboidal epithelium. So stratified cuboidal epithelium will be, again depending on the cell structure, it will be cuboidal structure. So outer layer of cuboidal structure, basal layer of columnar cells. The outermost will be basically the cuboidal, and the basal structure, basal cells will be columnar cells. Forms the epidermis of scales of fish. You have seen the scales of fish, right? So these are mainly formed by the cuboidal epithelium. And these are the one which is responsible for formation of the protective structure, right? So lines the sweat gland ducts, and largest salivary glands and the pancreatic ducts. Okay, the next one is stratified columnar ciliated epithelium. Stratified, that was the cuboidal, this will be the columnar. Outer layer consists of ciliated columnar cells and the basal. So the outermost cells will be consisting of the ciliated columnar, while the basal cells will be without cilia. Simple. It lines the larynx and upper part of the soft palate. It lines the larynx and the upper part of soft palate. So larynx is again a one important part which is again continuously in function, and hence it tears a lot. Okay. So it has to be replaced again and again. It will be also having the cilia. Because of this cilia, what will happen? This will be responsible for movement of the mucus, and all this will be moved in a particular direction. The next one is stratified columnar epithelium. Here, the epithelium will be having multiple layers. So consist of columnar cells in both superficial and the basal cells. So first of all, squamous at the top surface, second one the cuboidal at the surface, the third one the ciliated columnar at the surface and non-ciliated at the bottom, and the last one is at the surface also columnar and the bottom also columnar, mainly found in the epiglottis and the mammary gland ducts and even the part of urethra. Okay, so that was about the compound epithelium. It was about the compound. Here you can see the stratified ciliated columnar epithelium and stratified columnar epithelium. So the uppermost surface cells will be having the cilia. Here you can see the cilia, and here is the cilia, and here it is without cilia. So it is simple stratified columnar epithelium, and over there the stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. The last one, the last type of the epithelium, compound epithelium, will be the transitional compound epithelium. It is also a type of compound epithelium, we can say, which will be consisting the multiple layer. It will be consisting more than one layer of cells, but it is not as thick as the stratified layer. So stratified, we can see it's a basically thick layer which is formed by the multiple layers, but over here it will be not that much thick. It is thin and more stretchable. It is important. It is thin and more stretchable. It is thin and more stretchable than the stratified epithelium, and mainly it is found in this part, at the parts which are basically under the stretch, like the epithelial inner surface of urinary bladder. The urinary bladder has to be very much flexible, so it requires a lot of stretchability, and ureter and renal pelvis. Okay, these are the part where the transitional compound epithelium will be found. So if the question comes, transitional compound epithelium is type of, so it's a type of compound epithelium, we can say. Okay, but not exactly stratified. It is stratified but thinner in nature. Okay, so that was about the different type of epithelial tissue. Simple and compound are done. Simple, we have done different type of simple: squamous, columnar, cuboidal, ciliated, non-ciliated, and pseudo-stratified. And compound, we have seen the stratified. Okay, and stratified we have seen different type of stratified: the squamous stratified, and the columnar stratified, the ciliated columnar stratified, and then we have seen the keratinized, non-keratinized, and all the structures, right? And last one we have seen the transitional epithelium. That was about the simple and compound epithelium and transitional epithelium. The next one is the glandular epithelium. The name suggests gland. Gland, what does it mean? So glands are some specific structures or cells, okay, which are getting specialized or getting modified for secretion. So what is that? Some columnar or cuboidal cells get specialized for secretion and form the glandular epithelium. So sometimes this epithelium may get specialized to perform a function of secreting some substances, maybe hormone, maybe enzyme, okay, and hence they are called as glandular epithelium. It can be unicellular on the basis of the number of cells. It can be unicellular, it can be multicellular. The unicellular glandular epithelium, examples like the goblet cells of alimentary canal. So here some isolated cells will be functioning as a gland. Some isolated single cells will be functioning as a gland, and hence they are called as intraepithelial cells. So intraepithelial cells, it means that some very isolated single cell will be functioning as a gland which is present within the tissue, which is in the epithelial tissue, and hence it is called as intraepithelial cells. While the multicellular glandular function is the type where some cells come together to perform specifically dedicatedly function of gland. Okay, so here the multicellular structure is formed, and hence it is called extraepithelial cells. So it is basically differentiated from the epithelial tissue, and hence it is called as extraepithelial cells. So intraepithelial cells is the unicellular glands, while the extraepithelial cells are multicellular glands. Unicellular glands, example, goblet cells of alimentary canal, while the multicellular glands example, the salivary gland we can see. So here you can also observe the structures. In unicellular glands, the isolated cell is responsible for formation of the gland secretion, and multicellular, the different cells will be coming together to form a glandular structure responsible for secretion. Okay, so that is about glandular epithelium. Next is gland again. So gland is a tissue. It can be cell, it can be tissue, it can be organ. You can write it down. It can be cell, like we have seen the goblet cells. It can be tissue, like we will see in the pancreas and all that. And it can also be like salivary glands also forming a tissue, because some mass of the epithelial cells are dedicated to form the gland. Hence we can consider that as a tissue, which secretes some substances. The substances can be, you may write it down, the substances may be proteinaceous, like the pancreas will be secreting the protein substance. It may be the lipids, like adrenal gland will be secreting only the lipids, and it may be secreting the mixture. It may be secreting both the lipids and proteins, like the mammary glands will be secreting both the lipids and proteins, and it may also secrete the carbohydrates, or we can say the mucus, like the goblet cells will be secreting the mucus. Okay, so depending, the secretion can be of different nature. It can be carbohydrate, it can be protein, it can be lipids, or it can be the mixture. Okay, now these glands can be classified into different types on the basis of the secretion. As already I have told, on the basis of secretion, protein, lipids, and carbohydrates, and the mixture, right? And it can, on the other type, it can be depending on the mode of secretion, how this mode of secretion is taking place, and involvement of single or many cells. So we have already seen the involvement of single. If it is single, it is unicellular. If it is many cells, it is multicellular gland. Now based on the secretion type, with the mode of secretion, it can be exocrine and endocrine site of secretion. So exocrine are the glands. Again, we will be having a detailed study about this gland in the structure, in the chemical and coordination topic, which is the last chapter of your 11th standard. So based on site of secretion, it can be exocrine gland. The exocrine glands are the glands which will be having a specific tubular structure called as duct, will be responsible for releasing the secretions from these glands to the blood. So they will be having a particular tubular structure called as duct, responsible for the transfer of releasing the chemical secretion from these glands to the blood. So these are called exocrine glands. Example, my most digestive glands are exocrine glands, like pancreas. Okay, and next is the endocrine glands. Endocrine glands are those glands which will not be having any tubular structure, or which will not be having any duct, and hence they are also called as ductless glands. What we call it? We call it ductless glands. And they will be secreting the secretion directly into the blood. And hence they are called as ductless. Mainly the secretion is hormones. Example, the thyroid and pineal gland, pituitary gland, and all those glands will be secreting their secretion directly into the blood without any duct or without any tubular structure, and hence it is called as ductless glands. We will be studying in detail about these glands in the other chapter. And the other one is heterocrine glands, or we can say mixocrine glands. These are the glands which will be consisting both the exocrine and the endocrine structures. Example, pancreas. Like pancreas will be having both the exocrine and endocrine structures. The endocrine structures will be responsible for releasing the glucagon and insulin, which are the hormones, while the exocrine, you can write it down, it's important, it may be asked in the question, while the exocrine structure will be responsible for the enzymes like trypsin and chymotrypsin and lipase and all that, right? Pancreatic lipase and all that. So these are the different glands on the basis of their secretions and on the basis of the cells, involvement of cells we have seen. Okay, so these were the about glands. So here just to give a brief about the different type of epithelial tissues, like this is squamous epithelial tissue which is found in the alveoli. This is the cuboidal tissue which is found in the what you can say the nephrons. This is my columnar tissue which is found in the lines the most digestive tract, is the intestine, all that, right, which is responsible for absorption also, and which is having the goblet cells as well. This is stratified columnar tissues which is mainly responsible for the protection. It is also found in the glands. Okay, it is stratified cuboidal tissue which is found in the skin, responsible for protection, responsible for preventing the dehydration, and stratified squamous again found in the buccal cavity and all that, right? That's all about the different epithelial tissues. Now the last will be functions. So let us enlist the different functions which are carried out by epithelial tissues. So we are done with the epithelial tissues. So lastly let us summarize with the functions what all they carry out. So it's a protection from pathogens. So due to this epithelial tissues, the pathogen or any foreign particle or any chemical cannot directly enter in our body. So when we get burned, right, so we will basically exposed to the surrounding, and hence the different organisms which are present in surrounding will be getting infected within us, right? So it protects us from the surrounding pathogens and chemicals. It also prevents the mechanical injury. So suppose a normal scratch on your skin will not be leading to a major injury, right? Why? Because it is taken care by the epithelial cells. And it also prevent the dehydration. If this epithelial cells are tightly packed, and hence it will not be releasing out the water, which is an important part of composition of a cell. So it has to be retained at a particular level. Next, it is also responsible for absorption of necessary materials. So like absorption in particular intestine, and some part is also absorbed in different part of the intestines. Okay, so it is also having the capability to distinguish whether the substance has to be intaken or not. So this is also taken care by so any substance which is not useful will not be absorbed. So these receptors which are responsible for determining whether the substance has to be absorbed or not are also present on these epithelial cells. So they are responsible for absorption of necessary materials. Not everything will be absorbed. So the epithelium of the uniferous tubule specialized for the urine excretion, as I already told, is responsible for filtration and also for the absorption and reabsorption of water and other salts. Okay, so it plays a very important role in urine formation and its excretion also. Next, the sensory epithelia receives various stimuli. All those 5 sense organs we have got are basically exposed to the surrounding, and they get inputs in the form of stimulus from the surrounding, and that will be conveyed, that will be taken to the brain by different cells, by the nerves. But this stimulus is received by this epithelia, and these are called as sensory epithelia. So they will be having some specific sensory receptors present on them, which is responsible for receiving this stimulus, and which will be taken to the brain for the further action. It is also exchange of gases between the blood and air, as it happens on the alveoli sac. So there it will be responsible for gaseous exchange. The pigmented epithelium of the retina, you will be noticing that the retina, the cavity of the eyeball basically looks like so dark. So this is due to the pigmented epithelium of the retina. Okay. Next one is the epithelium also forms glands that secrete. We have already seen the different type of glandular epithelium. It may be unicellular, multicellular, exocrine, endocrine. All those cells are responsible for secretion of hormones and enzymes, right? So it's an important function. The germinal epithelium produces the ova and sperms, as we have already seen. They will be carrying out the meiosis and responsible for the formation of the ovum in the females and formation of the sperms in the case of male from the seminiferous tubules. And the next one is epithelium produces exoskeletal structures, like which is responsible for protection of the body, internal organs, right? Like scales, feathers. We have seen the keratinized structures. So the scales, feathers, hair, nails, claws, horns, hoofs. These are different type of keratinized structures which are responsible for, which are again formed by the epithelial cells and responsible for protection or different other functions as well, like feathers would be responsible for protection from external environment, or also for the movement, also for the flying purpose, right? Next one is ciliated epithelia, that is which is present respiratory tract, general tract, responsible for movement of the mucus and other fluids in a particular direction, which will be helping them to flush out the things in the proper direction. So that was about the functions of the epithelia. So we are done with the epithelium. Now next we'll be starting with the connective tissues. That's all.